Sure.
And once again, human observation, if you will, right, black has castle into it, as we call it, right?
Yes.
But it's only if you can force black to take on g3. So as far as I understand, Fabi's argument is that I've played g6, the knight's protected, and I'm not planning to take on g3 anytime soon. And for you to threaten to move the bishop away, you'll have to push the g pawn, and this is the moment when the h pawn, and that's the moment, of course, when I take on g3. So,
exactly.
So it's one of those kind of stalemate situations, if you will, because in order for you to force me to take, you have to give up the ability to open the h-file.
Well, you can force that knight to move, at least, by going bishop e2.
Yeah, so bishop e2, it's black to move, so let's pretend black is launching a6, b5 and starts the attack of his own, right? So if we go bishop e2...
let's pretend I don't have to deal with b5.
In fact, computer's already screaming, go b5, sacrifice. But yeah, let's prepare it one more time.
Yeah, exactly. And then the knight moves...
say knight to d2, right, so threatening to take. And this is the moment where computer captures on g3, because instead of, say, preparing the real attack, you've put the bishop on e2, which is probably not the most aggressive, and also you've moved the knight back. So this is the moment when it says, yeah, okay, we can actually take. And if anything, rook e8, knight f8, and it'll be very hard to break.
And could you be a bit more refined here? Because I was really clunky. I was a bit too clumsy with going bishop e2. Can you just go, move the knight out of the way? Anyway, yeah, let's put it on d2. Let's just... Okay, again, I'm going to pretend that b5 is not working. And then here, kind of go for like an f3 or... so something, or f4. F3. Let's just...
so once again, the moment we move, computer insists on capturing. But then again, we can pretend that b5 does not exist only for so long. If black is deprived from his only source of counterplay, of course, white's attack will work one day. So b5 again, that's what black has to do.
Exactly. So novel position, and after castles, I thought that from black's point of view, let's put it that way, I will be going a6, b5 right away. And it's not that easy, as you guys have just been discussing, how white is supposed to get in g4, h4, and away you go on the king side. One of the things that it did look...
it
you were playing directly with bishop e2, and you weren't getting, I want to say, there.
I feel like castle queenside is too committal. Because immediately black has a plan, right? Whereas you can wait with castling queenside for a while. You can kind of go bishop e2 and then move the knight out of the way, leave your king in the center. I didn't see any issue with that.
So bishop, for example, to e2, yes?
Yeah.
Something here. And in this case, I'm still uncertain what you're doing with your king, so I'm cagily waiting.
But my issue was that b5 doesn't come with any power in this particular circumstance. Whereas when the king is castle queenside, it's like b5 is on the agenda every single move.
All the time. And that's exactly right. Yeah, but on the other hand, again, you've got to do something, Jovi, with your king. You can't just leave the king in the center. When you castle short, then I'm taking on g3 and I'm playing b6.
I'm a Caro player. I can leave the king in the center.
No, you can't. Not allowed. Okay, but castle, sorry. I never got a chance to tell you what I thought.
And this is a very important game. Okay, this is the standings. Okay, let's remind ourselves of the standings after round 2. Fabiano, Caruana and Gukesh, they are in the shared lead with 1.5 points. And of course, there you see a 6-way tie with people just half a point behind them. So victories are very, very important in this event when it's such a close field.
Castles, to me, is kind of a challenge. It lays down the gauntlet, and I think the move a7, a6 should come. One of the things for me is, again, I see these positions. I've got to attack your king. You didn't look at it, but the move that would come to my mind would be h4.
Yeah.
you're more or less going to take the bishop because maybe I'm threatening to go away. Takes. Now, please do me a solid favor and play h5, which you will never do, so that I can play g4 and get my sacrifices in. The computer will laugh at us, but as human players, we're sitting there saying, I'm going to go after your king because I know you're going to play b7, b5, and you're going to try to maul my king. Now here, there is this move, knight to f6, which, really does hamper me and slow me down. And it's sort of like, we've all seen these shifts where you're going g4 and you're going h5 and you're trying to sacrifice. It's challenging to try to make these attacks work.
So what would you say if I'd offer you to do the reverse thing? Because usually you come up with the idea and I have to check. So computer's not impressed, so let's leave computer alone in this position. I have an idea. So after a7, a6, and I've already checked and it's not a very good idea, but you will have to tell me how it looks to your eyes, to human eyes, please. To go bishop f4.
Something similar.
So that, well, if you totally ignore what's happening, I'll go bishop h6, and then all of a sudden g4, h4 comes relatively quickly.
Right.
So very likely you'll take. And you'll go b5. We all know that b5 is the main source of counterplay. And I'll say go h4.
Now we're talking.
And this at least looks like the way you play with the opposite castles.
Exactly.
You're attacking me, I'm attacking you.
Exactly.
So it's not very good, according to the machine, but not that bad either. It's slight minus. It's not like, white's losing or something.
Exactly.
But it seems to be in spirit of the position at the very least.
That's a good way of putting it. It's the spirit of the position that both sides are going after the opponent's king. Bishop f4 feels like a better idea than h4, again, from what you're doing.
I just love, Miro's playing that move with a big smile on his face, and the computer's like, no.
No, I can't do it.
Of course not, of course not.
This is one of the problems with chess these days.
It's very hard to convince computer that your idea is, well, at least half decent.
I remember when I was first studying with my first trainer, and he would say to me, ignore the computer. Ignore, because it's just saying, you're giving up 2 pawns or 1 pawn, and if it's only a little bit in your opponent's favor, ignore it. It means it's tricky.
Exactly. We'll keep an eye on this one. Let's just go around.
We've got one game still to visit, and that is Wesley So against wildcard Bogdan Deac.
Let's take a look. It seems like a day for the Catalan and the open Catalan. In this particular variation, c7, c6 has been the go-to, and I don't know if you're going to call this the King's Indian or even the Grunfeld Indian, right? The Grunfeld Slav. The Grunfeld Slav. Geez, that's really too.
Everyone has his own name for it.
What do you guys call it?
King's Indian.
No. Symmetrical Grunfeld. Because symmetrical Grunfeld, because Karpov-Kasparov matches, CD5 when you have the symmetrical position. So that's what we used to call it.
There you go.
Anyway.
C7, C6, I've seen thousands of games. D takes C5, knight A3. I remember playing a game with Gregory Kaidanov, I believe, where he ended up playing C4, C3. And there were so many games back in the 90s with this line. I don't know if it ever played itself out, but it seemed like it was interesting, imbalanced games, Miro.
Well, C4, C3 till that day is the most popular move.
There you go.
Is the most popular move. Well, C5 being the third most popular.
Okay.
And what's interesting that after C5, Anish it wasn't Anish, Wesley. We were just
talking
I was looking at Anish games.
Nepo.
So castles, and so it kind of gives black a second chance. If you'd like, you still can go C4, C3, B3, and then castle. And I believe we would transpose into the position where we have almost 1,500 games. So that would be something very, very popular.
I think we've all played this position as white.
Or as black.
Or as black.
Depends.
By the way, Wesley's taken a few minutes, but Bogdan, really half an hour.
Right, because it was very, very odd moves order, you know.
Okay.
So it started with knight f3, d5, g3, almost like if Wesley was
Inviting a
planning to
Bogdan.
play the reti of some
Right.
sort, right? And we have no answer whatsoever what would happen after, the reti set up, knight f6, bishop f5 and stuff like that.
Right.
So second move, g6, is a very clever move to play against the reti, but only if you are ready to play the position that we currently have.
Right.
Because if white insists on not going d4 but doing any other stuff, let's say go bishop g2, bishop g7, and once again d4 is by far the strongest move, but you don't do it, you say castle. Then after e5, black builds this center, which is very, very hard to try to shake off. And I'm saying this because I'm used to play a lot of reti, and I had no idea how to get an advantage. After d4s, I was trying all the sidelines.
Right.
Yeah, and this particular one, white has close to zero ideas of getting an advantage or even like playable position whatsoever. Yeah, so and that's exactly what happened, and white decided to play d4. So once again, g6 is very clever, but if you are certain what to do after we get this position, knight f6, c4, and this is something that apparently Bogdan was like not very comfortable with.
And that was why he spent so much time.
You wouldn't expect him to spend so much time in this position, right?
And he doesn't look very happy. How do they match up with one another, Jovi?
Let's check it out. The lifetime history between these two, and very few games, just for one win for Wesley, so 3 draws. And when you compare their universal rating, you can see there is a marked difference. Wesley with 27.61, Bogdan Daniel with 26.85, 9th in the world versus 50th in the world. And this is Wesley's first white, so he's got his eyes on this game as being one of those that he will do his utmost to win.
Absolutely, as he comes in this game with the double black. Daniel just not looking completely comfortable. You've been explaining, Miro, that C4, C3 would transpose into our mainline database. Is there something independent about this particular position that Daniel can consider?
Let me see. There is knight c6. And
For example?
Yeah, I have no idea where it leads, to be honest. And knight to c6 applies pressure on d4, so you'll have to react. You can't really capture the c4 pawn.
Right.
You can simply capture on c5 and then the endgame, or queen a5 and black tries to capture on c5 with the queen. So both possible. Alternatively, there is queen a4 move, which if you look at it, it's very typical for the Catalan, with the difference that the bishop is on g7 and not on e7.
E7, right.
Yeah, so usually imagine that e6 played, bishop e7 played, right?
Yeah.
Comparing it to the Catalan, I'd say this one should be
better
for, not better for black as a position better for black, but kind of better version of the same.
Because
right?
the bishop's far
the
more
bishop
active.
from c8 would be much easier to develop. And since white did not put the knight on c3, one of the ways to develop the bishop would be to go bishop e6, bishop d5 to oppose the bishop on g2.
Yeah, I would say that black is doing well there. So knight c6 might be a very good viable
is an alternative,
to the c4, c3.
Is the so there we can see castles.
Castles would be, once again, something very, very normal. Castles, knight takes c4, and then again we are talking like minimal, possibility of minimal initiative because of like white starts to play first. So.
But I do remember that after moves like knight c6, aren't you meant to just capture on c5?
For sure.
Yeah, and queen a5, I guess, would be sort of
and you get
the
this
best.
very open position.
Well, right, the computer's not happy, by the way. So happy for white and not very happy for black in this case. I'd say goes knight d4, and I don't know where it leads. So what I know for sure that positions like this are not great.
No.
And here white apparently just wins with bishop e3. I was heading there just to show that if white wins back the c4 pawn, let's say it's a more pleasant structure and everything, but here white just wins because bishop e3 and you cannot protect the c6 pawn.
Exactly.
So the feeling is, like, as much as knight c6 is independent and everything, it's probably like between castling quickly or going c3. That should be one of those moves.
Sneaky move order there by Wesley. So maybe we can revisit the game between the teenagers, Gukesh, and my pick for the tournament, Praggnanandhaa.
Okay, so when we saw it was the Catalan Gambit, if you will. You play, Gukesh has played the move b2, b3, just back here to break up the queen side, accepting the loss of the pawn. But in return, if you stop and think about this position for a moment, your extra pawn is the pawn on c6. And what white would love to do is just occupy these outposts, very nice dark squares on the e5 and c5 outposts, and this bishop will do great damage along the long diagonal. It would be very awkward for Prague to get active play. Here we see exactly what I'm talking about. Again, just give me 1, 2 moves and I occupy c5 with gusto. That's why we're seeing this break, e6, e5, takes, knight takes e5, queen takes e5, queen takes d2. I think we caught, oops.
Yeah, we caught up with the players.
Yeah, that was just the last move when I came. I saw this position.
Rook d1, and only one square to my eye for the queen.
Exactly.
Queen h6. You've got to park her there.
Looks.
Unless, what it is, Praggnanandhaa, hang on a second. I always have to look for the counters.
Queen takes h2 and knight to g4. I just wanted to say, Miro, and we did see queen h6. Everything looks kind of like it's flowed correctly. Are we still in modern
There
theory?
is one game.
That's what I was wondering.
There is one game in this position.
In modern
and
theory.
The next move, apparently a clever move, is queen c7. That's what was played, and that's one of the
sidestepping knight
top
g4.
computer recommendations. Not only that, but it tends to be really awkward for black to react.
You mean the bishop?
Because, yeah, but there is also the a5 pawn which is hanging, so you can't play rook a to b8. Presume that in this case white will take on a5 and c6 will remain weak. So computer has rook f b8 as the move. And let me double check. No, it wasn't played, so after queen c7 must have been played something else. But queen c7, if we follow the computer recommendation, rook f b8, and we stop here and we think a little bit, it's not that easy for black to play. Like, how do you possibly escape from this corner? Yes,
exactly.
And let's say rook a to b1, knight d5, bishop takes, pawn takes. This I would assume to be very pleasant for white to play.
Yeah. It was interesting though, because I was looking at the people who played that one game. It was Arjun Erigaisi and Magnus Carlsen. So instead of going rook f to b8, Magnus came up with a very shrewd rook a to b8 after queen c7.
Go ahead,
and then the whole point was that he could tuck the bishop onto a8 when needed. But yeah, so the game kind of went rook a c1, but there is an a pawn that is up for grabs.
Yeah, so rook a to c1, computer's not, it doesn't make it the two computers' three top choices. It's between a4 or queen takes a5, two main thingies. Queen a5, the most natural, and yeah, to please Yasser as well.
Yes.
We need to take the pawn. It seems it fizzles out later on, so it was given like half a pawn advantage for white, now it's becoming less and less. I presume once again it's everything analysed and will peter out to a draw.
Let's check out their lifetime scores against each other, and here we can see 3 wins in favour of Gukesh, 2 wins for Praggnanandhaa, 5 draws. And, well, look at their universal rating. Gukesh might be the World Championship challenger, but he has a universal rating of 27.31, Praggnanandhaa 27.57. But when it comes to their classical world ranking, you see Gukesh number 6 in the world, Praggnanandhaa 13th.
Yeah, you can see a budding rivalry there. They haven't played the 30 games that Wesley So and Fabi play with one another, but you can see that despite their very, very young ages. They've already played each other. Truly the pride of India here. Queen c7, that rook a to b8, and I'm sitting there going, this looks so strange to me that Black's queen side seems to be, really, really awkward to my eyes. I want to play a4, and I want to try to exploit this bishop. I've sacrificed a pawn, but obviously White's such a huge favorite to simply win it back. Feels a lot more comfortable. And anytime we get those positions where you're playing knight d5, I'm happy. I'm not getting mated on these light squares. The knight on e1's very good. I want to say that Gukesh's opening has paid some nice dividends. The jury's still out on that, of course. But for the moment, after the move queen c7, and if you're, whatever rook you're playing to b8, rook a8 or rook b8, I really feel like the compensation is more than sufficient.
And we should also mention whether it's the F rook that goes to b8 or the A rook that goes, you cannot grab that pawn on c6. That would be a terrible move.
Tell me why. Give me the pawn.
Okay, rook bishop takes c6. Well, unfortunately, there's knight to g4 because the queen is hiding there on h6.
And you're threatening checkmate in two moves. Queen takes h2 check, followed by checkmate. But you're also you're mean.
Yeah.
You're threatening. You're threatening my bishop.
I'm being complimented by you an awful lot. An influencer,
and mean, and everything. But there's one more. You have to go one step further. Imagine I play h3. What do you do? Click, click, click. Clock's ticking. Tick, 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 tick.
Okay, yes. This bishop takes c6.
And that was the checkmate that came. Wow, whoops! That was the long diagonal. And by the way, rook on not the Magnus Carlsen rook a8 to b8 that you just cited, but Prague and Miro made this suspicion that Prague knows this position.
Well, he just played rook f to b8 very quickly. So, yeah, now the question for him is how to unravel. But in terms of the clock times, you both, even though like Gukesh has got 1 hour 36 minutes, Praggnanandhaa 1 hour 48 minutes, you still indicate that both of these players know what they're doing.
Absolutely. And we'll keep an eye on this one.
Can we revisit again the
Which one?
All French derby? It doesn't quite sound the same, the all French derby. It needs to be all American, right?
All British.
All British. Yeah, that works, but the French doesn't.
All British should be called the derby.
The derby.
They've invented the word derby.
The reason I kind of wanted to 2 back there is because, I mean, take a look at the clock times. That's the first thing I noticed, that Alireza has got more time than when he started, 2 hours and 4 minutes. So he's definitely within preparation.
Right.
Maxime has 1 hour 21. Okay, they're obviously fighting for national pride, because Maxime is French number 2, whereas Alireza French number 1. But I also wanted to ask you both. You've both been seconds, and as Cristian told us, that Alireza is now working with Etienne Bacrot, who has worked with Maxime Vachier-Lagrave.
Also in the past,
Yeah, so when it comes to being a second, do you have certain agreements that you're not going to be relaying information?
Yeah, I think most of that is understood, but also what is also understood is that chess marches forwards, and the work we do today, right now, this year, might in 18 months just be superseded by something else, some new computer, new things come along, and we don't carry that baggage with us. But there are certain things that you just say, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to talk
because you
about
could have
that.
a discussion where where Alireza could say, hey, I've got Maxime. I've noticed that Maxime is weak in this.
Right.
And you have to go, no comment.
Right. Well, you stake out the parameters of the relationship and where you want to go, and you go, look, I did a lot of work. It doesn't matter. I'm the Berlin, and there's a lot there that MVL would like to keep secret. So don't ask me about the Berlin, but I'm all game where the Nimzo Indian is concerned. And how about yourself?
Well, of course,
I never had any issues
I've never
with
been
my
second, let's say, on this kind of level.
Right.
But I remember a couple of times, my approach was very simple. Like, that's my ex-student of recent, let's say. So
Right.
this game, I will not help you to prepare. Like, we can discuss if you have a particular position that you are looking at and you want my opinion on this one. But
Right.
yeah, everyone's different. I thought of Peter Heine Nielsen.
For example,
When you brought up this example.
With Vichy, he worked with Magnus.
for Vichy and then with Magnus pretty much against Vichy.
Exactly.
So it was,
And I remember, actually, it was very nice. I remember Grandmaster Lev Gutman. Lev Gutman worked with Michael Tal for many, many years. And then Lev said to Victor Korchnoi, I'd like to work together. And Victor immediately accepted Lev. And even though Korchnoi and Tal didn't have, quote, the rivalry